big mystery, and it sure is worrying me. This city war did it. This city war did it. I wish somebody would tell me what city war did it. A little girl about 4 feet 4. Come on and give me some of your city war did it. Your city war did it. I wish somebody would tell me what city war did it.
Oh. Hi guys, apparently you're just gonna stay here now, I guess. Yeah, it's been a while since my last video. Yeah, because I've been hunting down from last time, if you remember, the movie Stone escaped my grasp, and that's why I've been sitting on the stairs. I've been keeping an eye out for it in case it tries to sneak its way back, but Today, however, I'm going to talk about the 1989 Punisher movie starring Dolph Lundgren, and this is an I'm developing an allergy to shitty movies now, but 1989 Punisher movie. This movie is a very interesting movie in the fact that it was one of the first Marvel superhero movies. You see, before the movie Iron Man in 2008, before the MCU, there was a period of Marvel movies that I like to call the before Marvel times, or BM, as you will, because a lot of shit was moved and released during this time. Now, granted that you had some good ones, like some of the X-Men movies released during that time, and the Tobey Maguire, Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Yes, even 3 to a degree. But this movie is intriguing because it has been seen as, there's been 3 Punisher movies. This is the first one, and this one's been often seen as the worst of the 3, but is it? For this video, I'm going to look at this movie, and you guys are going to be watching this, and I'm going to show you that, yes, this is a bad movie, but it has an enjoyableness to it. So, without delay, this is the 1989 Punisher. Now, we open the movie with a very kind of comic booky style opening. I mean, it's kind of colorful, and we see some quick little flashes of the thing. Yeah, it feels very kind of comic booky, but also has kind of this Dirty Harry 70s cop movie vibe to it. So you can tell that they were kind of going for that the cop action movie vibe that was prevalent in the 70s and the 80s. After that, we see that a criminal is acquitted and that he is attacked, and we are first introduced to the actions of the Punisher of the movie. And oh yeah, this is new, an actual explosion. Remember those days? Remember the days when explosions were real and they weren't just a CGI splooge fest produced by either Michael Bay. Oh my god, those were the days. And then we get a cool badass pose with some awesome lighting.
Who's got this? Holy shit, the Punisher! It's him! Deliver it, close up! Get it close up! I got it!
introduced to the another important character of the story, Louis, and he's played by Louis Gossett Jr. He's playing a cop that's looking for Frank, and yeah, more about him gets talked about later. And then we're also introduced to a boy and his American crime boss dad. I don't really memorize the names. A lot of the gangsters kind of look alike, really, so I'm just kind of call them by initials like this. There's a lot of Italian bosses, and they get the names kind of are very Italian-esque. So I'm just calling. So you can tell by the American boss lead guy. I forgot his name, but he plays the bad guy in The Fugitive, which is quite a high pedigree there. But yeah, him and his boy, they're talking. You see that he has a kid, and then the kid leaves, and those two talk about the plan. The plan is to unify all the crime families together with no way under border war. Okay, interesting. We later see that the Punisher has a drunk actor as kind of his eyes and ears on what's going down, kind of a source, pacing with liquor. Kind of reminds me of Mr. Leahy from Trailer Park Boys if he was British.
You were supposed to meet me here 4 hours ago.
I know all about it. I've been hearing it all my life. Shaq's responsibility.
Oh yeah, later we see some fucking ninjas.
Yeah!
Red 2, what have you got?
Bad kidneys. I got a pee.
So, P, everything's okay?
Yeah. Dead here.
Leads to a fucking badass fight of criminals getting butchered by ninjas and the Punisher showing up killing everyone. It's pretty fucking awesome, I like to say. And a lot of fuck yeah moments, which is pretty cool. The villains meet up. The Yakuza comes into play, and they face off against the American crime people. So now we have the Italian crime people facing off against the Yakuza, while the Punisher's just going after all of them, period. It's a little weird seeing this, because it's like, this movie puts a lot of focus on the villains, which it has took place in other movies, but this kind of takes a different approach where it feels like it's kind of hard to decipher which are worse, which are better. And it's kind of interesting two villains fight each other. Now there's been superhero movies where villains have worked together, but there really hasn't been movies where the hero fights the villains, but the villains kind of fight each other too. It's kind of weird. There's a lot going on in that area, and the way that it's handled is okay. I mean, you could argue it could have been better because it does kind of jump around. We don't really get a chance to know, really. The American crime boss, the lead one, the fugitive bad guy, I'm just going to call him the fugitive bad guy, he probably has he's best performing, best depth. Though the leader of the Yakuza, she's pretty interesting too. And it's very comic booky the way they do it. And I'll get to that later. So Louis Gossett Jr. talked to this chick cop, and she's young and she wants to become his partner. And he's like, I don't want a partner. But all of a sudden, she's his partner, and there's not really an explanation on what happened to change his mind or what happened. It's kind of weird. I mean, that's a kind of a plot hole there. It's a minor one, really, given the kind of movie we're watching, but it's something it's just another little thing that could have made the movie feel more fulfilled.
You see this board here?
Yeah.
I've been living with this board for 5 years. Every time he kills somebody,
I put a red pin in it. I fine-tooth every building, every alley in this city. And so far, the only thing that I've got to show for it is these little calling cards here. A whole bunch of these.
Next, we get a very creepy looking fucking panda.
Hi, I'm Peter Pan. I really care. And to show you it's true, I have some things to teach to you.
Stuff that haunts dreams will give Freddy Krueger nightmares. Ugh. And then a bunch of kids are kidnapped. We'll find more about that in a little bit. And then after that, we get to go check out the Yakuza headquarters, which is filmed very well. I like the way it's shown. And we get to see the children of the gangsters talk after being kidnapped. And then after some jumping around and forth, there's some Punisher action, and police think the Punisher kidnapped the children. Of course, the partner says, no, he didn't. I also like to say here, this is a very visual movie. Now, granted, there is a lot of dialogue, and I'm not saying it's visually told, but there's a lot of action in it. It's a very visual story. You really have to, you have to watch this movie to kind of get, like, what I mean by that is there's not a lot of, like, what I like about this movie is that you don't see a lot of villains monologue when they're fighting the hero. They just fight. They talk a little bit before and they may talk a little bit after, but there's not like, oh, this, and this, oh. You know, a lot of superhero movies nowadays kind of have that, and I find it's tolerable, but it's like, can you just shut up? We don't need to hear monologue. We already know you. And this movie doesn't really do that, so I give it props for that, in that regard. After some of the Punisher action, the Punisher and the Yakuza boss talk after he gets taken to their headquarters.
How much pain do you think that buys?
Is the question true, false, or multiple choice?
And I like to take some time to talk about this amazing score and how it's just very... I like the score in this movie. It's very, it has a lot of orchestra music. It definitely feels like a superhero movie. It feels like it kind of has this orchestra, but it feels 80s and action-y too. It's a nice little blend. It feels like a good 80s action movie score that fits well with the story we're talking about here. And yeah, the movie's looking pretty good so far. I have to say, I kind of like it pretty well. And oh, hold on a sec.
I would give you a Tide Pod, but I give them all to the millennials.
Oh no. I'm sorry. It's my, his name's Palpatine. He's like, he's, in some circles, he's called Darth Millennial. And, wait a sec. Why are you even doing here? This isn't even a Star Wars review. I'm talking about Punisher. That has nothing to do with you.
And that English, doesn't it?
Whatever. Can you just leave, please? I really don't want to deal with you today. I'm having a good review. I was talking about a movie I actually kind of like, and all of a sudden you show up and just piss me off.
What are you talking about? The movie is shit. Everyone hates it.
Alright, well, if you're gonna stick around, then whatever. I'll just keep talking then, I guess. You see, this is the kind of shit that I'm talking about with these kind of things, but oh well. Back to the movie. And then, we get to actually look in Louis Gossett Jr.'s, his character's backstory, and he was like the partner of Frank Castle. He talks about how they were partners and how Frank Castle saved him from the drink when they were first formed because he was an alcoholic. He was on the brink of losing his job, but then Frank Castle came in and saved him. He stuck with him, and now he's trying to repay the favor for Frank, trying to get him back after such a tragedy. So that's pretty interesting. That's good motivation right there.
Well, you know how you go out for a drink after work? In my case, it was a drink before work, the drink during work. decided to drink instead of work. It became a problem. Somebody wanted to deal with it, and especially me. Before I knew it, I was busted down to collecting empty shell casings and firing range. Out of sight, out of mind. Along comes Frank Castle with a shiny new detective badge. And he says he wants to learn from the guy who wrote the book. Busting that guy, me. So he took me into his life and helped me get my act together. He showed me how to be a cop again. So I figured what's a little silly shit on the shoes with that.
Next, the Yakuza ambushed some of the mob bosses. The mob bosses were going to need to get back their kids, and then the Yakuza fools them and kills them. Of course, the lead American boss dude was smart enough to not go because he knew, because he was smart. And then we could see the Punisher go rescue his children, and it's kind of interesting seeing Dolph Lundgren with a bunch of kids. It's just like, it's such kind of a, I don't know, it's just kind of funny because it's just like, that's the thing I love about 80s action movies. No matter what rating it gets, kids are always in danger, and especially this movie has kids swearing up a storm. It's pretty awesome, and they're in danger. It's just like, this is how, you know, you're watching an 80s action movie if kids are as in danger or more danger of being killed as a fully grown adult. All right, and he rescues kids. He gets he shows himself. I mean, granted, in one of the earliest scenes in the movies, he kind of does, but this is the first one where everyone actually sees his face. And then he gets taken, and this next scene's pretty awesome. Him and Louis Gossett Jr. talk in the movie. They share a conversation, and it's a pretty awesome scene. I have to say, it is just, they talk, and it's very well done. It's very well acted. It's very well conversed. I mean, it's just, it's pretty cool, and I enjoy it a lot.
125 murders in 5 years.
Work in progress.
And nothing I can do anything about. But you gotta talk to me, man. Let me in! Let me in! My fucking family too. They were my family too. Nothing you can do. Let me in! Fuck you!
And then after that, he gets taken, and he's escorted by the Louis Gossett Jr.'s new partner chick that's been around with him, and the American crime boss, his henchmen stop. They kidnapped him, and they they knock her out, and they knock him out, and then they take him, and then the American crime boss, he's like, yeah, I need your help, and yeah, apparently, I think he was the criminal that, he said it's been kind of inferred that he's kind of responsible for his family's death, or was a part of it, so that's interesting that they go that route. I mean, granted, the Punisher's villains have never been very comic booky, or whatnot. Oh.
What are you talking about? The movie is shit. Everyone hates it. You should hate it. It doesn't even have the Skull logo.
Well, true, Palpatine. Yeah, granted, yeah. There's a criticism of this movie. The biggest criticism is the absence of the Skull logo throughout the movie. Now, in my opinion, the Punisher doesn't need the Skull logo to be the Punisher. Frank Castle, as much as Frank Castle's called the Punisher is equal to being called Frank Castle, because they're so synonymous with each other, and that's what Frank Castle is. He doesn't have a secret identity. He doesn't have a day job or anything like that. The Punisher is a 24/7 thing. So he literally is the Punisher. It's not like Batman, where during the day he's Bruce Wayne, and at night he's Batman. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's very synonymous with him, but anyone can be Batman. No, not everyone can be the Punisher. Now, granted, people can have similar skill sets and motivations like the Punisher, but they can never be the Punisher because Frank Castle, that's been labeled to him, and he keeps that label because that's all he does. So throwing a Skull logo on it, it's not going to change shit to him. And plus, why does it matter? He dresses all in black anyway. Hell, even in some other versions of the story, anytime he's not wearing a Skull logo, he's wearing all black, and basically the Skull, his costume's all black with the Skull logo. And plus, even when he's not wearing the Skull logo, he's still the Punisher. We all know him for the Punisher, so what's the point if he doesn't have a Skull logo? It's just kind of stupid. In all honesty, I always found it kind of strange that he would pick the Skull logo. Now, granted, it kind of works with him because the Skull, it's death or whatever, and he's death or whatever, but I can see it going in a way where he doesn't even use a Skull logo, and that could have been a thing too, and I just feel like that it's not necessary. It's not unnecessary. It's just really there to give the character something iconic about him, kind of like Superman's S or Batman's bat symbol. It's just there for it to be an iconic thing, to give a comic book character some ability to shine, which is understandable, but it's not necessary in a movie like this. Especially, granted that it fits very well in this time and period because it is an 80s action movie, and it's very much like an 80s action movie. And the Punisher at that time was 80s action, so it fits like a glove. And the fact that they take away the Skull logo, now granted, they were given full permission to use a Skull logo, but they chose not to, which is kind of strange, but given when you watch this movie, you're like, okay, I can see why he doesn't. Because here's the thing, the Punisher, we see scenes where he operates during the day, and it's kind of hard to maintain camouflage during the day if you're walking around with a big-ass Skull logo on the front of your chest. So, I get the absence of it from practical, and I'll talk more about it later. So yeah, are you satisfied, Palpatine?
What are you talking about? The movie is shit.
Whatever. Just keep fucking quiet, I'll deal with you later. I'm doing my intervention in my fucking video. But, he talks to him, and then they break in, and this leads to some pretty fucking awesome Punisher action, and some very badass cinematography, too. I really love the cinematography in this. I noticed that the knives he uses has a Skull logo on the tip of the handle. Has a skull. So yes, they do use a skull to a degree. I even read that they tried making his Dolph Lundgren's makeup for being the Punisher similar to a skull. So they did find more clever ways to incorporate the skull into it. So yeah, I mean, is it like in your face? No, it isn't. But keep in mind, they're kind of going for a route that seemed a little bit more familiar. The Punisher was a very safe choice for an 80s action. If you're going to pick any character during the 80s doing a full theatrical adaptation, the Punisher would probably be the best bet. And yeah, and then after all the fighting, the Yakuza boss, the chick, she has some pretty cool. She has some makeup on, which makes her seem more like a comic book villain, which is pretty cool. And then the American mobster boss, they kind of have a one-on-one thing, and it's pretty good. It's pretty well done. And then the Punisher saves their ass. And then something interesting happens. After all that helps, the criminal boss actually tries to kill Punisher. And his reasoning's pretty awesome. His reasoning's pretty good for it. I'll let it play out here.
Just compliment you, Castle. You've done something I never dreamed possible. You wiped out the competition. Thanks to you, there's only me. In 5 years' time, my new organization will be the most powerful crime syndicate on Earth. And the boy whose life you saved will inherit all of it. And the only thing he will have to fear, I'm about to eliminate. You gave me back my son. Thank you very much. I'm in your debt. See you in hell, Castle.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I enjoy it. And then they fight. He doesn't monologue or anything. And of course, Punisher beats them.
Dad, get off him!
And then he pretty much has this very intense saying, of course.
I'm gonna kill you.
Good. Maybe if you get it over with now, you won't grow up to be like him.
Come on.
Do it. You're a good boy, Tommy. Grow up to be a good man. Because if not, I'll be waiting.
But yeah, and then after that, Punisher escapes, get a little monologue, and yeah, that's the movie. That's the Punisher. And yeah, I thought it was decent. I mean, the movie was made and released in 1989. Of course, it has a 5.7 out of 10 on IMDb. It has a 20. It doesn't have any Metacritic's user votes, and it has 28% on Rotten Tomatoes, with 32% by audiences, and even has a critic consensus. Even though there's only 18 critics, which is weird. They usually don't do that at all, but here it is. It's like this. Rotten Tomatoes said that the critics' consensus is that despite the seemingly indestructible Dolph Lundgren with a crossbow, the Punisher is a boring one-man battle with never-ending action scenes. Now, even though this is not a great movie, here's what I think. I feel like acting-wise, it's a positive. And yeah, acting-wise is a positive. The dialogue is, it's okay. It's kind of funny in some spots because of the obsessive use of swearing, like fucking shit and whatever. And but it's fine. There's some clever moments in terms of storytelling. The score, I love the score. The score is pretty awesome. Definitely better than fucking Stone. The narrative's pretty well. It's pretty simple. The villain, there's a lot of shit going on with the villains, and I don't think it's handled poorly, but I think it could have been handled better. If that makes any sense. The direction's fine. The direction, you can tell that they were going for it. Right, this is Punisher. This is 80s action. Let's ride with it, and it works. It works really well. And character development wise, I thought it was pretty cool character development. We get to see probably the American crime boss's leader's son. He probably goes through a lot of character development. He learns about his father. He learns about the Punisher. He really grows up in this, even though we don't see it. He's not the main character, but he does. I mean, Punisher, I don't know if the character Punisher himself really changes, and I think that's the point. He's kind of stuck in his ways, and he's not going to change, but I think it's nice seeing his character. His character does get fleshed out, but he's kind of more there for looks, but we do see him. I mean, in this movie, he's been the Punisher for 5 years, so he's been the Punisher for 5 years. So yeah, he knows what he's doing, and yeah, there's a tragedy to him, but you can tell that he's been doing it long enough where he's kind of more numb to it, and he's kind of more socially more inept in terms of talking to people and not breaking down into a traumatic stress thing. And in case I didn't talk about the plot already, pretty much the plot was Punisher kills bad guys. Bad guys try to unify and do their thing. They are attacked by the Yakuza. Yakuza tries to buy them out. They refuse. Yakuza and them attack each other. But then the Yakuza kidnaps the children, and at that point, Punisher decides to intervene, and he's facing off against the Yakuza, rescues the children, but gets kidnapped, and then the American mobster leader gets him, asks for his help. He ends up doing it because they kidnapped his partner. Forgot to mention that earlier. And crime boss earlier. What was it? And then fighting ensues, betrayal, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So when it comes down to it, it's not a complex story, but there's enough details in it to give it weight. So yeah, a lot of people say this is a terrible movie, and all I have to say is, no, it is not terrible. I have seen shit. I have watched Stone. This movie is nothing.
I'm coming down.
Oh no, don't you dare fucking come down here, Palpatine. Oh. Now he's right there. God damn it.
What are you waiting for? I am defenseless. Strike me down. The path to becoming a fuckboy will be complete.
I am not a fuckboy.
Do it.
I will never be a fuckboy.
We'll see about that.
No, Palpatine, fuck you, and I'm done with your shit. I'm editing you right the fuck out of here.
See you around, movie man.
Yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, that's the 1999 Punisher, and yeah, oh, hold on a sec, I'm getting something on my phone. They decided to send me, it gave them my Yahoo Mail account, so now, let's see what they say. Well, god damn it. Well, I'm moving out, guys. Apparently, the exterminator that came in earlier, after not finding it, I forgot to mention it before because I was trying to forget that movie Stone was wandering around. It destroyed the infrastructure. Now, I'm moving, so it's going to be a while, but yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think movie will give me a good enough excuse to stop reviewing shitty movies, so I'll see you all again very soon.
Jesus Christ. Fucking faggot Frenchman.